Welcome to episode 26 of Rubbish Talk podcast with myself, Alasdair Meldrum.
And myself, Jane Bond.
In this one, we have something slightly different for you. As we trailed in previous podcasts, we recorded a live podcast at the Chartered Institute of Waste Management Christmas Lunch. But before we go into that, I can't believe we've quite made it. That's a fortnightly podcast for all of 2023. So 26 episodes we've managed to produce on time with not too many sagas and disasters in the way. So for people that had no clue about how to record a podcast, I think we've done not too bad. And Jane, you've managed to join us for a few of them.
Yes, I'm quite impressed. You've managed them all, Alasdair. I don't think there's any that you haven't missed. You've been the stalwart of the Rubbish Talk podcast.
I've managed to record plenty, but I've still never listened to one yet. So there we
really?
go.
No way.
Maybe I should, but I try not to. So any Christmas news before we go?
Not specifically Christmas, but we have got a consultation out from I suppose it's from SEPA, the Environmental Authorisation Scotland Regulations 2018 Amendment. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but it's on the, it's on the consultation. It's out for consultation, which brings through all the permitting. I'm trying to say that word. All the permitting regimes for waste, water, radioactive waste, and the PPC into an integrated structure, which we've been waiting for this for years and years and years. Well, perhaps not years and years and years, but a long time.
It almost is. It's been talked about for a long time.
They've been threatening it for a long time. So, I worked in SEPA. I'll be nearly 5 years, and they were talking about it then, and I thought it was almost sorted then, but obviously not. So so let's see what it says.
So we've only just noticed it, but I think the consultation runs to, I think it's quite a long consultation. I think it's sometime in March it needs to be responded to. So if you're in the waste sector, there's probably some juicy reading in that consultation. But I think in principle, it makes sense that, what they're trying to do, what I've been told is what they're trying to do makes quite a lot of sense. So, but as always, the devil will be in the detail with these things. So a little bit of Christmas reading for everybody, I would suggest, eh? And talking about reading, I believe you're reading an interesting book at the moment, Jane.
Do you know what? I lost my sort of reading mojo for a while. I'm in this book club, and I kept coming out with, great books, but I don't know what it was, just couldn't get around to it. But we had our Christmas lunch the other week, and what we do at Christmas is pass around books that somebody else has read or whatever and thought was really good. So I've got this book, and it's by Peter May, and it's called A Winter Grave, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's actually got a load of climate change stuff in it, in a story, because it's about a murder, and we do like a bit of a murder, but it's a murder done in 2051, and the guy goes and he passes over Greenock and Gourock, which are all sort of waterbound now. The sea level's risen, the Gulf Stream's gone, and it's really, I find it quite fascinating. I think it's the story behind, to include that sort of elements that you've heard all about. Climate change is going to do this, it's going to do this, but actually in this story it makes it a bit more real. Whether it's right, but it's really interesting. I find it absolutely fascinating.
What did you say it was called again?
It's called A Winter Grave by Peter May.
I have actually just finished Politics and the Edge by Rory Stewart. And if you want to understand how dysfunctional the UK Parliament is, it's definitely worth a read. He's pretty scathing about how things operate and how these governments ministers are parachuted into departments with next to no clue about what they're actually needing to do and so on. So quite fascinating. And then podcasts, Jane, I don't think you listen to, apart from Rubbish Talk, I don't think you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, unlike you, I listen to all. Well, I think I've listened to all of the podcast episodes, but that's all I do. I'm not really a podcast person. I'm more of a music person. What about yourself?
There you go. Well, no, my in terms of politics and so on, the ones I do like is The Rest in Politics by Rory Stewart and Alasdair Campbell, and the other one is the News Agents. Both very, very topical. But in terms of running podcasts, which are generally my favourite, Young Hearts Run Free. They're a really good one. Go Mountain Goat by Finlay Wild, who lives up in Lochaber. But he's actually quite. He's not very conscientious about his podcast posting, so you tend to get one and then not hear anything for a few months, and then another one pops up. So, but yeah, no, I like my podcasts.
Sounds good.
So, anyway, I think we're going to keep it very brief with news because this is our last episode to the end of the year. So before we finish up and wish everybody a happy Christmas, we're just going to explain for the Rubbish Talk Live. I interviewed Nina Cameron from Dundee City Council and Louise Robertson from Keenan Waste Management in a live setting with an audience. I think we had I can't remember how many we had. We definitely had an audience.
Yeah, we all cheered and clapped and asked questions.
We did. They did. It was live recorded, so the quality may not be. I'm not quite sure our quality is always excellent anyway. But there is a bit of noise. There is a bit of background noise with that. But what we talked with Nina and Louise about was a bit about their background, but we also talked about this University of West Scotland and Switch course, which they'd recently completed. And then it actually drifted into a really interesting conversation about, new people coming into the sector, females in the sector, and just that whole, how do we encourage people into the waste sector? And we did manage to finish at 5 to 11 that day. 5 to 12, 5 minutes before the free bar opened, and everybody had an excellent lunch. So I think that's all for us this year. We will be back in 2024. Looking forward to producing more Rubbish Talk podcasts in 2024.
Yes, happy Christmas, everybody, and see you in 2024.
Welcome to the first ever Rubbish Talk Live podcast. First of many, or it might be the last, depending on how it works. We're here in the Glasgow University Union Building, which for some of the listeners might bring back some either fond memories of drunken memories and so on. So first of all, welcome to our two guests, Louise Robertson from Keenan Recycling and Nina Cameron from Dundee City Council. And obviously welcome to our live audience. You're allowed to make a noise. So I was going to not do any news items today, but we did miss something really vital of the last Rubbish episode 25. We missed the fact that I have now crept back up to second place, and Jim Brown, who is in the audience, has been demoted to third place in the episode rankings. And a big shout out to Simon Glenn, who has pretty much sat a number one slot for the vast majority of 2023. So, and that's all the news I'm going to do today. So no other normal news. If you normally listen to this is going to be slightly different. We've got two guests, as I said, in the show, and we're also going to talk quite a bit about the University of West Scotland course that was developed with Switch for waste professionals in the industry, because both Nina and Louise did the course last year and the start of this year, so we're going to talk about that. So before we get into introductions with Nina and Louise, I'm going to ask them 6 questions, and they're allowed to answer yes, no, or maybe. Okay, and I'm going to hopefully get them answering at the same time. Okay. Bear in mind, don't ignore your employers. If your employers in the room or whatever, it's your opinion. It's not anybody else's opinion. So, was it correct that the Scottish Government cancelled DRS? Yes. Is anaerobic digestion a better environmental option for processing food waste than in-vessel composting? Can you read my writing? Should councils allow the public to use plastic bags for their food waste?
Yes.
Is that no?
It's quite hard when you can't explain.
Both yes?
For the food waste?
Yeah. Are we doing enough to encourage households to use recycling and food waste collection systems?
No.
No. All in agreement. Are you currently working for your favourite boss?
Louise Robertson,
No, Grant was coming. Okay. And finally, what are you most looking forward to your CIWM Christmas lunch?
I think it'll be that glass of fizz that was promised.
So we stand before the free bar opening at 12 o'clock. Okay. Asking these questions, quite happy when you talk about your careers and stuff, you want to have some of the things asked there. So, first of all, Louise, could you maybe introduce yourself, who you are, where you work?
Yeah, Louise Robertson. I'm at Keenan Recycling. They're site manager now. I started in there as compliance, but took a keen interest in operations, so I moved to that side of things. I still do their compliance, to be fair, but yeah, more operational side now.
Okay, and what do Keenan Recycling do?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So we're food waste collections. Up at New Deer, what I do is keep an eye on all the PAS 100, commingled compost, the biofuel for the packaging.
You've now got to tell the audience what PAS stands for.
It's our certification for our compost.
Okay. And Grant, from memory, Grant Keenan was on episode 2 of
I
Rubbish
think so,
Talk.
yeah, that's right, yeah.
If anybody wants to hear from Grant Keenan, the owner, director of Keenan's, listen back to episode 2. So, same question for yourself, Keenan?
Yeah, so Nina Cameron, I am the Senior Waste Partnership Officer at Dundee City Council. So I'm based at Dundee City Council, but I also work for Andy's Council as well. So I essentially help to manage what we call the Waste Partnership. So for anyone who's not familiar with that, it's a public-private partnership, and it's essentially the council's long-term, sort of more sustainable solution to residual waste, your non-recyclable waste treatment. So it's a public-private partnership. We have the two councils working in partnership, and they work with their contractor, who are MDB Environmental Dubby. Because we love an acronym in the waste industry, we shorten that to MD. So I'll refer to them as MD from now on. So yeah, my role is essentially to kind of manage that relationship with the contractor. It's a 25-year long contract. So signed it in 2017, and essentially they built us a kind of brand new energy from waste facility, which went fully operational in January 2022. So we're now sort of coming up for 2 years, with that facility being fully operational.
Good, thank you. And episode, Charlie Devine, your boss is in the room.
Yeah.
He was episode, I can't remember which number he was actually. I should have prepped better. So, question for yourself, Louise. How did you get into the waste industry? You never sold pictures around the streets like Grant, did you?
No, but that's a great story.
He's
a good salesman, really good salesman. No, so I, obviously, Aberdonian oil and gas industry. So I did emergency response, looked after North Sea assets for BP. And then I went on to the compliance side of things. And then my partner, he's moving more into renewables, and we have talked endless amount of times about renewables and the future and stuff. And yeah, so I seen the job come up at Keenan's and I thought, I'm going to give this a go. And then I met Gregor, Grant's brother, and we did a site tour on my interview. And the passion that he had was unbelievable. And just, you know, when you speak to anyone in the waste industry about how quickly it's evolving and improving, there's such a passion there for it. In the oil and gas industry, it's quite dead. You know, it's just, the driller will make money, that's it done. So yeah, I wanted to move into something worthwhile, something I'm passionate about.
Good. And how long ago was that?
Only a year and 5 months ago.
Right.
So I'm brand new.
And did you ever think you would end up in the waste industry?
No, I didn't, no. But I'm glad, I'm happy. Enjoying it, really enjoying it.
Good. Same yourself?
Yes, so I think like quite a lot of people like had on your podcast, Alasdair, I didn't set out to work in waste. So when I was at school, I had absolutely no clue what I wanted to do. And I enjoyed the social subjects like geography and history, and I enjoyed biology as well. So I decided I would go to university because that's, you know, what everybody else was doing, and I went to study geography and environmental science at the University of Dundee, and I graduated in 2016, and I guess I kind of hoped that throughout my 4 years I would kind of find something that I wanted to do, but it's such a broad topic that there's so many different career paths that you can go down. So I sort of came out the other end like, oh, I still don't know what I want to do, and I kind of did that thing that I think quite a lot of graduates do, where, you know, you're applying for any job that you see, and you just constantly keep getting that feedback of, it's great that you've got a degree, but you don't have enough experience. We want you to have at least a year's experience or whatever it was. So for about a year I continued to kind of work in my part-time job, so I worked in a jeweller's throughout my university life, so they were kind of able to give me extra hours, and I did that, and I kept an eye out, and eventually I saw that Dundee City Council were advertising a work experience placement, and they actually had quite a few that were sort of an environmental, you know, they had an environmental side to them. So I applied for a few of them, and I ended up being successful for the active travel role. So I went, I joined Dundee City Council in 2017, and I worked within their sustainable transport department. And actually a lot of what we were probably working on at the time, it was kind of similar issues to what we experienced in waste. So there was the whole behavioural element, you know, how do we get people to think about how they travel? Can we get them to stop using their car, and can we get them to, you know, start using the bus, or can they walk, or can they cycle? And then there was the whole sort of infrastructure element as well to it. You know, do we have cycle paths? Do we have good services for buses? So it was kind of, there were similarities there. And about 9 months into that role, it was only a 12-month experience, work experience placement. So I started to obviously kind of keep my eye open on, you know, would there be another job that I could kind of move to if I didn't get kept on. And a job actually came up within the waste strategy team at Dundee City Council. So it was actually a job that I had applied for when I first finished university, but I didn't have any experience. So I got an interview. So I kind of thought, well, I've got it and I've got that experience, I'm going to go back and I'm going to apply for it again. So yeah, it worked in my favour, I got that job. So I worked in the strategy team for about 2 years, and then I kind of, it was a bit of a promotion for me to kind of come into that role. So, and that's me being in waste ever since. So I've been for about 5 years now in waste.
Good. There you go. Thank you for that. Thank you. So moving on to the, you both did mention at the start there, before we started recording, I'm just remembered that. We were going to talk about, well, both of you were students on the University of West Scotland course that was organised or developed between Switch, which we talked a lot in the podcast about, between Switch and UWS, and both of you were graduates from that course last year. It was 2022 to 2023. Louise, could you maybe explain a bit about the course, what's involved, and how it works?
Yeah, so the first half of the course was the licensing legislation. So I think for me personally, the first half of the course was out of my comfort zone, which was brilliant in some ways because I was learning so much on that first half. because as I said previously, I was compliance and that, so the second half was compliance and planning, wasn't it? So the second half I was a lot more comfortable with. First half was covering waste types, regulations, health and safety, and all that kind of side of things. So it was good. I learned a lot in the first half. The second half, I was a lot more in my comfort zone with the bespoke interview with SEPA and things like that. It was a lot easier than the first half. But yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I think I was opposite to Louise. The first legislation and licensing module, because I'm from a strategic background, so all of that, the legal systems, the legislation behind why we do what we do, I was really comfortable with. But actually, the second module, which was compliance and planning, covered a lot more operational issues. The sort of work instructions and your competency, all that kind of thing. I wasn't so familiar with that, so it was good.
Good about each other.
And quite a mix of, what was the mix of delegates, candidates like?
I think we were all from different backgrounds, weren't we? I think Louise and I were the only two that didn't know anybody on the course. There was a group of people who had come from organisations and knew each other. But yeah, we were all very much, there was a couple of other people there from local authority, a couple of other people from Civico and from other business. So.
And a different type, length of time as well with people, because I think there were some people who'd been in the waste industry 10 years plus, and then there was me who hadn't been in for a year. So we all come from a different perspective.
And I think there was quite a difference in, there was graduates like yourself, plus there was people that probably worked for a long time and it's been a long time since they'd been in class before as well.
Yeah, I don't think it matters how long you've been in the waste industry for. I think what the course is very good at doing is it kind of gives you like a foundation. So it's very good at touching on all the different aspects and elements of the waste industry and bringing them together. And what the course leaders were very good at doing was encouraging you to have conversations. So they would deliver on something and then they would ask for our experience, or for us to share our experiences. And they did say it's a safe space. It can be something bad if you want to discuss it. So it did allow me to kind of go down different avenues and actually see that, because I've only ever known waste in a local authority background. So it was actually really interesting for me to kind of find out, how these views it.
And it was delivered by both university and external, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes, it was.
I think it was also a collaboration between the university, Switch. Don't ask me to explain on that. Switch and obviously you had people from but you had the actual lecturers themselves. Then we also had yourself, Alasdair, Jane, and Albion, and then I think my David Goodenough from Civico. So there was a real mix of people there, wasn't there? Which was good to hear from the different people within the industry.
And was there assessments, exams, that type of thing?
There was, but not, the time frame didn't put any pressure on us at all. It was all doable within your working life as well, because you've got to remember that when you're studying, that you've got to go to work every day as well. But yeah, there was two assessments in the first one and a presentation. Presentation was good, because obviously with being at Keenan's, it's all organic for me, and my presentation was on phytogen, so it really made me go and research, like a different aspect of waste.
I got the waste to lose.
Just swap presentations.
So I think there was the 3 on the first module and then there was 3 on the second module. So the second module was 2 written assignments and a class test, which was supposed to be online, but we had to end up doing it back to the old-fashioned way of pen and paper.
The cyber attack.
So, and to be fair, they weren't. You did, for some things you had to do a bit of, revision or a bit of extra work in the background, but it wasn't. It was quite reasonable.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you obviously had the kind of more practical things that you did in
with
class.
each other. Yeah.
And how was it run? It was a full day every second week. Is that right?
Yes.
So 6 days in total for each module.
Yeah. Across a sort of 12-week period. So initially that was kind of sounded quite daunting when I was applying, because I was like, 12 weeks for for the first one and 12 weeks for the second, but it kind of went back quite quick.
What would you say to anybody here that's either, probably nobody here is needing to do the course actually, looking around the room actually, because they're all quite experienced, but for people that have maybe got staff that are coming up through the ranks, would you recommend it to people?
100%, 100%. Because not only did it, obviously I gained knowledge from it, and I met people from all different sectors. I realised it kind of gave me a bit of confidence, because I did think to myself, these guys have all been here for 5-10 years plus, and I'm thinking, do I know the same as them? And believe it or not, it actually gave me confidence. When I did it, I was like, oh yeah, no, I know this. So yeah, I do recommend it, definitely.
Yeah, and I think for me, I suppose when I first came in, there wasn't a course like this. There had been a course, I think, at Fife College, and there was a bit of a waiting list at the council for that, and then obviously they stopped it. So I was quite keen to do it, to actually see what I had learned, from other people, I guess, and from just doing the job. And I did learn things from it. So.
I was always amazed when I was lecturing there that everybody sat in the same seats. So you've got 25 people in this course, and it's got these mobile chairs with wheels, and got a wee table beside it, and you've got literally got a screen around every wall. It's really weird from a presenting point of view. You walked in every time, and everybody sat in the same seats. Every week they turned up in the same seats.
We all kind of
creatures of habit.
Yeah, we gravitated back, and the chairs were a bit. You had to sit on them a certain way as well. If you sat down from the angle, because it kind of had like a spinny table.
Stress position, wasn't it?
Never really knew what screen to look at. So yeah, but no, it's a really modern campus as well.
Yeah,
it's a nice campus. So moving on from that, and going back to your own careers and what you're doing. What's the best project you've ever worked on, Louise? Doesn't necessarily need to be the Louise sector.
Best project. I need to think about this one.
I think probably the waste partnership project that I work on at the minute, because I think it's been. I obviously came into it. I started that role in 2020, and the contract started in 2017. But prior to that, there was 4 years of a procurement period. So it's actually taken a lot of time to get to where we are, and a lot of people have been involved with that project over the years. So lots of expertise has gone into that. So I think it for me that. It's been a great project, because it really opened, kind of went in from having a waste background to a project where we were in the middle of constructing an energy from waste facility. So I was being exposed to all sorts of construction lingo and whatnot that I had to learn, and you've got the legal elements. So there's so many different sides to it, that I think because it's so varied, that's probably the best project for me.
And it's still going.
Yeah, it's still going, and it is for another 25 years.
Okay, mine would probably be the fact that in Keenan's, although I'm up at Newdear operational side, Keenan's as a whole, with the legislation in England and that, we have become UK's #1 food collector. We lift over 1 million bins a week, which is absolutely, food bins is brilliant.
I was actually walking along the street to here, and I thought it was one of your wagons, but it was actually an all sorry. Probably not meant to mention that.
I think that's an achievement, especially for a guy selling oil beans. That's some achievement.
So Nina, your worst thing that's happened in the waste sector?
So I actually really had to think about this one, because I've worked with a few people that have been around in the waste industry for 20
You want him to leave?
20 years. Well, actually, now that I've been mentioned them, I think he said it in his own podcast. He's got a story from everything. So it doesn't matter how bad a day you're having. Charlie's got a story that will make your day seem so much better. But if I had to pick something, it's probably not a specific, moment, but it's been any time that I've picked up the phone call. From our contract manager to say that there's a fire on site, and I think that's been quite a common theme. Obviously, you've had Pam Walker from Aberdeen on the podcast before, but we have had issues with fires. We're continuously seeing, vapes. Obviously, it's a very unpopular topic at the minute. Gas canisters, batteries. And we have had fires, and I think we've been lucky in that the worst, I guess, situation that we found ourselves in is that we've had to divert to a contingency site for, the best part of maybe a week. Whereas there's other people out there that have had it a lot worse than us, and it seems to be a problem that's not going away anytime soon. So I think we need to kind of keep it out there and get the public to realise that actually these jobs, by putting that in the bin, you're putting people's lives at risk. So.
We've got poor Colin Forshaw crying
Yeah.
in the corner someplace.
I don't want to mind them.
Yeah, so I'll keep it lighter. Fire's obviously a massive hazard in the waste.
You've ended up in a pile of goodwill someplace.
So I think it's a bit of a shock when so I decided when I went to New Deer that I would try every job on site and go into the reception building and work with the guys. That was a shock to the system, especially we get a fish lorry, it comes in from Golgar, and it's salmon from Orkney, so it's warm by the time it gets to us, and we have to build a bund to tip it. So yeah, I've been caught. Well, my feet have been caught in that a few times. So yeah, that's probably the worst. But I think what's bizarre is, so we do two types of compost. We've got our green compost, which is from the garden waste, and then we have our premium compost, which is from our garden food waste. And we sell our green compost in two grades, a 40 and 12 ml, and we sell them to members of the public. Our premium is just for agricultural farmers. And the amount of members of public that come into the office and they're like, we buy compost, and we'll explain and show them all the details and what they can have and the price differences. And they're like, we'll have that one. We're like, that's a premium stuff, that doesn't. And I think because it's called premium, they automatically think that it's a lot better, and they're like, why am I not getting that? And you're like trying to explain to them, like, this is not fit for the purpose of landscaping and that, and they're like, no, I want. Yeah, so members of public is probably one of the hardest things I have to deal with.
There'll be a few people in the room will agree with that one. Good. Okay, we have got an audience, so any questions from the audience? Or Nima or Louise? You need to wait until you get a microphone, Robin.
Oh.
It's okay, we can cut this bit out, don't worry. Sorry, Alicia can cut this bit out.
Questions in two parts, never that easy. What advice would you give someone that's considering entering the waste industry with the experience that you've had in the sort of time you've been there? And what do you think as an industry we could do better for new entrants into the waste industry to make it easier to come in and also to get to grips with the complexity that's there now?
I think advice to people is just to, I suppose, surround yourself with people. I think from me coming into the waste industry, I've been really fortunate that I've worked with a few different people that have been very good at kind of shoehorning me in the right direction, giving me advice. So I would say do that, and also just try everything. It might not sound like something that you want to do, but give it a go, because it might be a bit daunting, but once you do it, you think, oh, actually, that was quite straightforward. So that would be my advice.
I agree with Nia. I did every job on site just to see how it works.
Any you would like to go back to?
I love litter picking.
It's great.
Therapeutic, it's unreal. I love it. And when you've had a real bad day in the office and you go down and you're just picking a plastic, it's great. You just switch off. Work alongside the people actually doing the job, so that I know it's because sometimes you could read something, but what is actually how it smells and the temperatures and stuff like that, it's different to what is on paper. So do all the jobs, give it a shot. I've been extremely fortunate. Gregor's got a massive knowledge in organics, so he's worked by my side, and he's never made me feel like I can't ask any question, no matter how stupid it sounds. He's like, no, come on. And I go out on his site tours. So I've heard the story that Grant told on your podcast about, I'd say about 20, 30 times. I can tell it now, like I was there. So yeah, and the courses. So I did like a lot of with Jenny Grant, Real courses, the university courses, no, everything. Just I drowned myself in it, and yeah.
And I think try to network as well, because I think that's something that I didn't really initially do. Because you're trying to get to grips with the job, and you maybe feel like I don't know as much as what people in the industry that have been there for 20, 30 years know. So if they have a conversation with me, but actually just that's how you learn, is getting out. Like we found that on the course. Actually, it was probably when we were networking with each other and starting to share experience that we got a lot more out of it.
Yeah, I didn't know what a MRF was until I was in the course.
You obviously hadn't been listening to the podcast.
The second part is, what do you think as an industry we could do better for new entrants into the sort of industry?
I think just making it more known that this is a career path, because when I was at university I actually specifically remember, it must have been an afternoon lecture, but it was one lecture on waste in my entire 4 years, so it wasn't really something that I had on my radar as working in, and obviously like I said, I kind of fell into it. So I think maybe just making it more known at that level, and at school level as well, that actually you can make a career out of this.
Yeah.
And there's lots to it as well, there's lots of different avenues you can go down.
I agree. Renewables in the oil and gas sector they really, really like push forward that this is the path that we should take, and it's a bit quieter in the waste industry, and it should be the other way around. So
If you're interested in helping in that, talk to Duncan Simpson or Jim Brown from Switch, because we're trying to do that. We're trying to get that career pathway developed for the sector, because it is so important.
And the course that we just attended, making it would be nice if there was like a few of them set up in different areas, because I think that was because there's nothing negative about the course, nothing at all, but it was just the distance.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was absolutely it.
The challenge is the numbers. It's a numbers game. We need a certain number of people. And if we're being honest, the sector in Scotland's relatively small, so you're not going to get hundreds of, you're not going to be able to run 3 different courses all around Scotland over the year.
But I think it does have to be in person. Initially when I was looking at applying, I was a bit like, it's down in Hamilton, that's a bit of a journey. And then actually, when we went, I kind of thought, could there be any bit delivered online? But you wouldn't have got the same experience if you'd done it on Teams or whatever. So
Agreed.
Anybody else? That was Robin Baird, by the way, speaking, because I forgot to ask him to introduce himself. Wendy?
Okay, right. So my question would be, where do you see, if you had a crystal ball, where would you see yourself going in the future? So you're talking about, kind of starting in the waste management industry. So you don't have to give, I know your employees are in the room, but if you had a kind of crystal ball, what job would you invent or want? What do you see that future being?
Okay, for me, at the moment, I'm focused on organics. I would like to move out into maybe, mind you, if Gregor Grant hears us, not for another 15 years, I'm not allowed to leave now. But I would like to go into a bigger industry. So a more mixed, like mixed recycling. I'd like to try each part of the industry. And not focus just on one side.
Yeah, and I think for me, I've only ever known local authority, so I do enjoy the kind of more strategic side of it. So whether that would be something like government or CPAR or something just a bit different. I think my next goal is to become chartered, so that's kind of my next focus, is to do that, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I've got a comment.
Yeah.
It's not really a question, it's more of a comment. It's what it is really nice to see two females up there in a chat.
Yeah.
When I went into the industry, you'd walk into a room like this and you'd like,
Yeah.
you know, so
We're almost 50-50.
Yeah.
Not far off 50-50.
and it's just so nice now seeing so many women and girls and everything actually coming into the industry, and it just makes it so much easier. Well, you know, you don't have to walk into a room full of grey suits and think,
Yeah.
shit, who am I going to talk to? Or it's quite daunting.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, guys, but it is.
Yeah.
So it is. It's lovely to see that. Sorry, that was me.
Jim Brown from Bin Group. Just picking up on Jane's point, how do you think we can attract more females to join the industry and make it, you know, an attractive place to have a career?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Again, I think it's just maybe not advertising, but actually showing what kind of jobs there are out there. Because when I say to my friends that I work, they just think I work with bins, and they automatically think, you know, people collect it. But I try and explain what I do, and you know, I give up. But I think it's just explaining what types of jobs, you know, that you can do within the waste industry. It doesn't necessarily need to be one particular part of the waste industry. There's so much out there. I don't know. Do you know what else?
Yeah, it's a hard one.
I think
Because my site's smelly. It's really hard to attract people. Most of my friends are like, ew. But I think it's explained, it's shown that, so for me, like I've got my sister come up to site, and she's like, what is it you do here? So she wanted to see. And I think the most mesmerising thing for her, and it really encouraged her, was the closed loop. So I was showing her, like, when the council food waste comes in, the bio bags, I showed her it going through depackager, it being, you know, put into AD, and the bio bags back into our vessel. And she was like, wow. She's like, oh my God, that's crazy how it was totally closed, and we took all the waste and made a product. And I think putting that message out and showing people, I think then it will attract maybe more people into the industry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as well, maybe just looking at where the future is going in terms of technology, because technology is such a huge area, and climate change, and actually, you know, you might have people focus on working on that particular goal, but they're not necessarily aware that they could work towards that from working in waste. So.
Thank you. So that's our interview with Louise and Nina over. What we're going to do now is they are going to, this is a bit I'm dreading, they're going to ask me some questions, and I think they've maybe prepared some questions for me, so pass it over to you two.
So you've obviously been doing podcasts for a while now, Alasdair. So what's been the most, I guess, interesting or surprising thing that you've learned from developing the podcasts?
I think the one interesting thing is, I think I've mentioned before, most of the guests I've actually known, and some of them I've known quite well, but I think in every single one I found out something new, either about that person, you know, whether it's hobbies or whether it's and I also think what's really interesting is the different approach and the different, everybody's coming at waste management from a slightly different angle. And it's obvious. One is maybe we interviewed Pam Walker from Aberdeen City Council, and then the following time with Bill Cullen, who was the contractor taking their waste. Mm-hmm. And you know, they were complementary to each other, but they were coming at it from a different approach. And I think that's been really interesting. I think it's been really interesting how accommodating people have been to us phoning them up or emailing them and saying, do you want to come on, and scheduling diaries and so on, because it is quite a challenge, and it's probably more of a challenge now. It's generally myself and Jane that's been doing it, because with our busy diaries, trying to fit in with a guest, and you know, having to try and fit this schedule for, you know, going out at 4 o'clock every second Thursday can be a bit of a challenge. So
if you could have anyone on your show, who would it be?
Anyone?
To talk to anyone.
Oh dear, never thought of that. Never thought that one.
Yeah.
I have thought, well, I'd quite like to get somebody international. And we've talked about that earlier on. We do have quite a big number of different people following from different countries. There's a guy in Singapore that I just shared it with a lot of his colleagues in that region. So it'd be good to get somebody just with a totally different international take. I don't think it's particularly about the big names, the big stars. I think it's actually more about the people in the sector and trying to showcase the people. I think when we first thought about it, it was a bit of a mad idea sort of thing, and we're trying to make, how are we going to get people want to listen to this? Talking about rubbish is probably not the most exciting thing. So we did make a fairly conscious effort to try and focus on the person. And I think sometimes the stories from probably younger people are as interesting as the old codgers that are sitting in the room. Just insulted everybody. But I think, I think we have consciously tried to make sure it's been male, female, and we've pretty much done that. I think it's been sort of 50-50 balance. We've also consciously tried to not always go for the directors and the owners and the tidy services and stuff. We've tried to sort of mix it up. We would like to get some operational people. Yeah. Love to get a bin man on. I'd love to get a recycling operator and so on. It's just entirely open to suggestions of where people think, oh, they'd really good with this.
And is that the kind of plans then for 2024?
No, we're giving up. We're stopping. Episode 26 and a half years done. No, I think the plan, is it a plan? I'm not sure there is a plan. I think we are going to continue. We're maybe going to change the format a little bit, but I think we're going to keep doing it and try and get as wide a, we've not covered, for example, we've not covered incineration. We've not had a guest on, but we have tried actually for various reasons when we've got it. I did professional interviews for CIWM yesterday. There's a guy, senior consultant for the radioactive sector. We've not covered radioactive waste. There's so many topics that we've only scratched the surface on. We've not really done hazardous waste. We've not done. There's loads of areas we've done. So I do have this mad Excel sheet with potential guests that keep getting added, names keep getting added, and then when we're trying to think of who we're going to nobble next, we go back to the list and try and pick a name. And in general, most people are quite accommodating. Sometimes people who work for government or bigger organisations, it's often a bit of, they need it checked by, their HR, another HR, their PR department, and so on. So sometimes we put a lot more time for that. But on the whole, because we're talking about the person rather than the organisation, generally that process is pretty straightforward. So, but we're open to ideas from people. My personal view is it's an excellent resource for trying to encourage people into the industry, because I don't think we've talked to anybody that said, I don't want to be in this industry. They've all said, I want to be in the industry. And we've not talked to anybody that's actually turned around and said, vast majority, I know they're not going to say I'm going to jump ship and join another company, but the vast majority said I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and this is where I'm going with what I'm doing. So from that perspective, we appear to be quite a happy industry that's giving people the opportunities they want.
Actually, I think go back to that question about what can you do to get people into the industry. Just actually being able to listen to the stories from people on your podcast, it does open up that sort of, I could go and do that, or I might want to go down that direction later on. So, yeah. Really interesting.
Did you enjoy the course when you were in?
Did I enjoy it?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you who your favourite lecturer was, but I thought that'd be that'd be maybe unfair. No, the course was great. The course was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. The lecture. It's good.
Because it was a fair mix of people.
It was a bit of a challenge, because I've been lecturing both at the University of Scotland and Edinburgh for quite a number of years now, probably 15, 16 years. So most of my materials prepared. When the switch course came along, I was like, oh no, we've got to do a whole day's lectures on this subject. So there was actually quite a bit of preparation in terms of getting stuff ready, and then over the years, sort of developing and improving. So there was that challenge of getting ready for it. But once you're there, it's good. And it's always good when there's a mix of people. And quite often the other students often help out as much. So if somebody's struggling to understand it, somebody else will sort of explain it in a way they understand. So that's good. That's you run out. Anybody from the audience got a question for me? I'm conscious I'm sitting between you and the free bar, which opens in 6 minutes.
I'll put you on the spot.
You need a microphone first.
Can you get a bigger microphone would be the first question.
We don't even know if they work yet.
Colin Forshaw from Suez. You've got some titans of industry that you've interviewed already, so putting you on the spot and Alasdair, in this room, who was your favourite interview?
They were all my favourite.
Which Aberdeen-based manager was your favourite?
Oh, sorry, it was Colin Forshaw. I actually think, if I'm being totally honest, I mentioned him early on. Simon's Glenn's interview. Simon had clearly put a bit of thought to what he was going to say, and I think if people haven't listened to it, I think very thoughtful about the industry and some of the sort of bigger strategic issues with the sector in terms of what it's done. Grant Keenan's was pretty memorable to me because we were obviously totally new to it, and asked him one question, and about 20 minutes later he was still talking. And I was like, do we need to do something? But that was, but no, they're all different. And I think for our struggle, Jane maybe doesn't struggle as much yet because she's not done as many. Because it's the same questions, you feel as if you know it, but you keep forgetting the guest hasn't done it before, so it's trying to make sure that it stays fresh in my head as well as the other person. So that's interesting.
I really liked it, actually. Yeah. Find so much out about people that you never knew before. Brilliant. Love it. With good chit chat, professional chit chat.
That's good. Don't worry, the ones that haven't been on yet, you are on this Excel sheet. You're on the list. just a matter of time. I think, unless there's any more, was David putting his hand up there?
Who's not on your list?
Who's not on the list?
Controversial question.
Right. I probably might not want to answer that. Very much want to interview people that are actively involved in the waste sector on a sort of day-to-day basis, as in they're actively processing the waste, they're out doing the bins, they're out doing that's what we're trying to get to. We do stretch the boundary a little bit in terms of if they're in the waste sector or not. So probably an obvious example of that is Laura Young, as PhD student and doing climate related work, I think. But she's set up the campaign about vapes. So she got some honorary membership to the waste industry as far as I was concerned, because she's done that. So we do try and link it to the sort of waste sector as much as possible, but we make the rules so we can, as long as they roughly fit the criteria, then we're quite happy to have them on. So if you get anything in mind that we shouldn't have been doing, let me know. Okay. Right, I'm conscious the free bar is about to start, so big thank you to Louise and Nina, who were sort of half prepped for what was going to happen. a lot of you actively listen, actively share, and also to everybody at Albion that puts the work, the hard work to put it together, because it is actually, you know, to a certain extent I do the easy bit and sit the interview. There's other people that are putting together, like Alicia, putting all the recording together and the social media that goes with it. So big thank you to everybody at Albion that sort of took my mad idea at the start of this time last year and actually turned it into something. So thank you. For the people that don't know, it goes out at 4 o'clock on a Thursday, every second Thursday. One went out yesterday. I know, failed to remember his name, Alex Robinson.
Alex Robinson.
Alex Robinson from Hubbub went out yesterday. And my overall aim with it is to try and get better at communicating out with the waste industry. So please share it to your family, friends, neighbours, dogs, cats, whoever you want to do. And that's all from me. Thank you very much.